Good morning, everyone. How are you? So we're back again, and my name is Brandy. I am with Brushed by Brandy. I am also a brand ambassador for the Dixie Belle Paint Company, and Dixie Belle has taken over this group this month, and so they've asked me to come on every day this week, and I'm doing an informational series. And so we're talking about things that don't often get talked about, which instead of painting together, yesterday we talked about what is a brand ambassador. Sorry, it's kind of loud in the background. Today we are going to tour my workspace. You guys are going to get to see where I work, and I'm going to try to show you this as best as possible because I don't have a camera person. But I'm also going to show you some organization tips that work for me and how I utilize my space, because space is an issue for a lot of us, and we don't have unlimited space and we have storage problems, and this job comes with a lot of materials. So where we are right now, we are in my workspace, and I'm going to back up from you guys so you guys can see more of it. I work in the third bay of my garage. So I have a 3-car garage, and this is a single bay that I get all to myself. So I'm going to be moving this camera around a lot today, and I hope that you guys can see it. But this is what's behind me. This is the third bay of my garage. And I think as we go through it, what you're seeing will make a lot more sense here. Everything does have a place, believe it or not. So where I'm going to start first is if you walk in my garage door. So this is my garage door right here on this side. And when you first walk in, this is my staging wall. This is the wall that you see me using all the time for my photos. So this is the front of my house, and so that's why it's got a window in it. And when we first had the window, I was kind of worried about how that would affect my staging wall, but I actually really, really like it. I think it gives my staging a little bit of character. It looks like a genuine indoor space. And it's not huge. In fact, I wanted to measure this wall for you guys, but I want to say it's only probably, 8 to 10 feet is all the space that I need. And that's more than enough. I've got 2 pieces on it now. Usually I only have 1, but it's more than enough to be able to stage a piece of furniture in that 8 to 10 feet of space. Now I wanted to talk to you guys about my flooring. So a lot of people see my flooring in my workspace and panic, like, what are you doing? You're getting paint all over the floor. You better believe I'm getting paint all over the floor. So this is the flooring in my workspace. I'm super happy with it. So when we moved out of our last house, I had paint all over my garage floor and there was no getting it off. It was gonna stay like that. And the people must have thought I was crazy, wondered what I did out there, but it was covered. And so we decided we want to actually try to save our house, preserve our house a little bit, and not get paint all over the concrete in this space. And so what we did is we purchased a luxury vinyl tile, and I laid it in this one workspace. It was about $1 a square foot, so I've got about $300 in flooring out here. And not only does it give me great flooring for my staging, but it also is amazing for sliding furniture on. It doesn't have grooves in it like a concrete would, and so I can slide furniture over the top of it with no issues. I can use the 3-wheel dollies. Can put my furniture on a 3-wheel dolly and it will slide over that space no problem. So it has paint all over it. It's meant to have paint all over it. That's why we put it in, was to try to preserve our garage actually. And so next we've got the window. This is genuinely the front of my house. We live out on 5 acres. So sometimes I catch the trees and stuff in my photo for my staging wall. And that's something to always consider, is what's in your background. The other thing I want to point out about this space is between my garage door being open and my windows for the front of my house, this space is flooded with natural light. I've also got windows on another side. For photos and videos, I 100% prefer natural light whenever it's available. I have lighting kits, I have a ring light, but nothing duplicates natural light. So if you have it available, use your natural light. I also have LED lighting. So these are in addition to what was in the house. We installed this and this. And so when I am doing live videos, I'm using that overhead lighting for my videos. So I'm going to continue to work around the space and show you what's going on. Okay, so over here, this corner looks like kind of a mess. So we've got my staging wall, my window, and then the messy corner. So let me explain the messy corner. You guys might see right here, we just built our home. This is our fire sprinkler system. Now I worked really hard to keep this wall free of any utilities when we built the house. It did not work. So our fire sprinkler system ended up coming into the house from this point. It's still open. They had to keep working on it until just recently. Now I can close this hole in the wall and this will become a second staging area. So I'm picturing that it will be something darker, something a little bit different color. So then I will have two different backdrops for taking photos on. And they're all in this one wall of space. It's not a huge ton of space, but that will get me two areas of taking photos in. So for right now, in this corner, since I can't really use it because it's got this gaping hole in the wall, I'm storing a buffet that I want to redo for my own house. It's been sitting there for a year. I do want to get to it. I know what I'm going to do to it, but our own pieces always wait the longest. So that's that corner there. So now we're going to go back to this wall. This is a piece that I'm working on. So I will usually put pieces that I'm working on right over here. In the background, under the blue sheet, those are side tables that I'm storing in here. This right here is a pile of rags. So this is blankets, sheets. Anytime I can, I will pick up used blankets, sheets, anything like that, and I use them for wrapping my pieces when I'm delivering. I also have a stack of moving blankets. So towels, I use old socks for staining. I mean, you guys have seen me, I use t-shirts or my rags, any kind of laundry that is destroyed and comes out of my house comes into this pile right here. So the next thing over, I've got my air conditioner. It gets hot. I'm in California. I've got an air conditioner out here. Now, my garage space is fully insulated, and since we just built the house, we got that option to fully insulate our garage space, and that's a really nice feature. I could also hook it up into the HVAC system for our entire house, but then it would run when our entire house is running, and I don't want that. So this lets me cool this little space, which is one bay of my garage, whenever I need to, without having to heat or cool my entire house. So we've covered two walls now. So we've covered this, my staging wall, the window area, the back corner with the hole in the wall. That will be a second staging area. This is just a workspace for a piece of furniture that I have planned. This is actually the top of a highboy dresser. It's a two-piece dresser. Now, you might notice I don't have furniture storage in here. So because we're out on 5 acres, I have a separate building on my property that I store my furniture in. It is a 30 by 30 metal building. Originally, we thought that would be my workshop. It is not, because the metal building kills any Wi-Fi signal that I might get in there. And let me show it to you. So this is the metal building on our property. It's right behind me. So I can wheel furniture directly across my driveway into my workspace. I just put it on a dolly and wheel it right over here. That is a huge luxury. If you don't have that additional space, then you're forced to store furniture in your workspace. And I did that for a long time, so I completely sympathize. So let's keep moving around the space. So behind me here, I'm going to take you guys over to see this up close, but this is my shelving. This is all of my non-paint products. So this is top coats, waxes, resin, glazes, patina products, stains, transfers, papers. Let's go over and take a look at it, and I'll show you what I've got over here. There's an immense amount of product involved in doing this. And so this is all of it right here. And I keep it in flat boxes, and that's so, like my waxes here, I can pull this flat box out from the shelf, choose the wax that I want, and then push it back in. So everything is kind of organized, even though it looks, you have off-site storage, Bianca. Yes, exactly. It can be pricey, but that's kind of the sacrifice. If you want to have a furniture stockpile, you've got to have a place to store it. So the other option is you only keep, you know, your 2 or 3 or 5 pieces on hand at a time. So I think this is completely invaluable to show, because I don't think people realize the amount of products that a furniture artist usually has to have on hand. So when you're considering whether you want to do this for yourself, you know, consider that on any piece I may do, I may have to use, I mean, who even knows how many things from this stash. So I'm going to show you a couple things over here. So this is how I store all my transfers from Prima. They're just in their tubes. They're up on the shelf over here. And I do have to dig through them. So this is not ideal. I've seen like CC Restyled has a great storage plan for her transfers. These are all my transfer tubes over here. So then you see there's some top coats here. Well, that was my sea spray. You know, my Dixie Belle Boss and all my top coats are in here. Another thing I do is if I pick up something just because I need to move it, I will just shake it. And that's because all these items are being stored over here. And you'll notice that products can, even paint can start to separate when you're storing it. So I will, if I'm picking something up to move it, give it a couple shakes, put it on the shelf. And that just remixes the product while it's in storage too. So down here, I have a stash of custom papers. So anytime I order papers, they all go over here on the shelf as well. I'm going to show you guys tomorrow, we're going to come on and talk about staging, and I'm going to show you my staging area and my cabinets. But I've got 1, 2, 3 cabinets right here that are just full of staging items. And I'm going to open those up and show you guys everything tomorrow and pull out some of my favorite things for staging. But this shelf behind me is really, really, really invaluable to, you know, all these products that I have on hand. And there's an immense investment here too in making sure that I've got everything. There's strippers, there's mineral spirits, there's my spray gun, you know, all kinds of stuff that we are required to have for this job. So now I'm going to come over and show you the other space. Now, because we're in my garage, when I turn around, you're going to see my garage space. So we've got this is my shelf here that we just looked at. Let's turn a little bit more. So behind me, you can see where I would park my car. It's not a very pretty area, but over here, I've got a couple dressers that I've got on deck, and this is where I will work on all my pieces. So I've got 1, 2, 3 pieces out right now. One behind me, one here, one here. And I never work on only one piece at a time. I've always got multiple pieces out. Now behind that is a workbench. And my workbench is huge to me. So it's got a stainless steel top. I've got several drawers in it. And let me kind of show you some of the things I've got going on over here. So if we come over to my workbench, I try to not lose you guys because I'm trying to keep my camera. Okay. So I first got a set of drawers here. And in my drawers, one's empty, I've got wax brushes. This is just my wax brushes. I've got gilding waxes, artisan powders, all of those kind of things have their own drawer. This is a tool drawer. So this is screwdrivers, hammer, scissors, tape measure, painter's tape, anything like that is all in this drawer here. And I use that drawer a lot. The bottom drawer is just some steel wool, things like that. So if I come over here to the next part of my workbench, this is where I store all my sanders. So I've got 1, 2, 3 sanders in there, and also my hair dryer, which is my heat gun. It's an old hair dryer. Does temperature affect Dixie Belle products? Absolutely. So this is my paint storage. Ta-da! It's a beautiful thing. That's all my Dixie Belle. I'm going to come here and show you how I store my Dixie Belle. So my Dixie Belle is all stored on a shelf. It's organized by the color card. So I've cut up a color card and I've got the colors pasted here on my shelf. And this helps me. It's an old color card, so I'm missing a couple colors, but I still know they're here. So this helps me when I need to order paint. I can look at this and I can see, okay, I'm a little low on, you know, pine cone. I need to include that in my next order. Now, I always try to keep an open container and then at least one behind it as a spare. So I never am working on a piece and run out of a color. So as far as temperature goes, I'm in California, so I don't get freezing here, but freezing is a huge factor for a lot of you guys. So for me, because my garage space is insulated, my paint is safe out here in the winter. Now, when it gets warm outside, your paint thickens, and that just happens anywhere. There's no storage solution that's going to keep your paint from adjusting to temperature changes. When it does, I just have to use a little bit more water when I'm actually painting. Do you use the little ones? No, I actually prefer the 16-ounce size. So you'll notice the majority of my paint is a 16-ounce size. I have very few of the large sizes. I'll show you one here. Dixie Belle comes in 3 sizes. So you've got the 32-ounce, which is, you know, this is a big size. This takes me a long time to go through, so I don't like having a 32-ounce open all at one time. So I don't tend to order these. It's a lot of paint. It's great if you need a lot of one color. This is the 16-ounce size, which is the middle size. This is what I order the most of. I usually get about 2 to 3 projects out of a container of paint this size. It's just enough that the paint doesn't age by being open too long. Hey Dana, hey Susie. So this is a great size for me to work from because I do so many pieces. I have a few in an 8-ounce size. This is the smallest size. You'll get about 1 piece of furniture out of the 8-ounce size, or you can use it several times to mix or blend or anything like that. And I don't have a whole lot of those. If I do, they're either colors I don't use as often, and so I order them in smaller quantities. For example, that one was pine cone. I love to make fun of pine cone because it's brown. It's just brown. You know, so it's not beautiful. I don't use it all the time. I won't do like a full body in just brown, but I may use it for shading or something. And then you can see most of the other sizes are the 16-ounce size, going all the way up. So I have a lot of paint. So I talked about heating. As far as freezing, you don't ever want to let your paint freeze. We know you love pine cone. I love my pine cone. Sorry, pine cone. You don't ever want to let your paint freeze. It can damage your paint to where you can't save it. So if you get freezing temperatures and you don't have an insulated or heated space for your paint to be stored in, bring it inside with you. This stuff is expensive. You know, there's a lot of value there. So if you get freezing winters, bring your paint inside with you, and don't, you know, try to arrange your shipping so that it's not being left out to ship in freezing temperatures, because it will freeze your paint. So another thing I've got here is a hot mess. This box, I save every piece of hardware. I take off a piece. I try to use original hardware if I can, but if, for example, this set had 1 piece that was broken, and so I was short 1, so I just put new handles on my piece. But now I've got you know, a set of these missing 1 that I may want to use on something else. I save everything. Every screw I take off, every mirror bracket. You know, this is a piece of gingerbread from a piece that I didn't use that I may be able to use later. I save everything, and I come to this box a lot, and I will dig through and find, you know, old pieces of hardware, and a lot of times I find a match to something that I needed. It's full. I wish it wasn't just in a box because it is inconvenient, but for now, this is my box. Save your hardware, save your screws. Vintage screws can be different sizes, and so if you ever need a vintage screw, I save those as well. So here I've got several different types of tripods that I use, and I keep these out here because I use them a lot. This is one of the little, you know, spider leg ones. I can clip it onto any surface and it will kind of hang on its own. This is a smaller tripod. I've got a ring light. Dixie Belle actually postponed shipping. They will do that if they know that there's freezing temperatures or even extreme heat. They will postpone shipping a few days to pass that extreme weather so that your paint, there are products that can melt in shipping. Big Mama's Butter is one of them. And you don't want that to melt. And if your paint's gonna freeze, so they will delay shipping a little bit. So let's keep moving past my workbench. I've got some clamps that I just clipped to my work table here. This is all my brushes, the mother load of brushes. So this is how I store my brushes. Once they're dry and I hang them to dry, they all go into this drawer here. And I've got all kinds. I've got chip brushes, I've got my Dixie Belle brushes. The ones I use the most tend to be on top, which are going to be the Dixie Belle brushes. But if I want to dig through here, I've got all kinds of stuff. Every kind of brush you could ever want. Oh, my wood graining tools in here. So that's my brush storage right there. Now I've got a furniture piece in the way. There are my spoons, which are my Dixie Belle color samples, sample of every color. Down here is a drawer of sandpaper. That's just sandpaper. I've got another drawer that's got all my chalk pastes from Prima. Up on the counter, I've just got a few random things. For example, these are my, you guys see my plates where I mix colors. If I ever mix a color, I mix it onto a paper plate. I label it. And then I've got a stack of paper plates here. And the stack of paper plates is my color palettes for mixes that I've done and used before. These are molds that I've pre-cast in resin. And I use these, some of them are warped or damaged, but I'll use them to hold them up to a piece and assess the size of a mold and see if it works. So I just keep them here in a little box. And then I can hold this up to my piece and see, yeah, that's gonna work. No, it's too small. So speaking of molds, I'm gonna show you guys how I store all of my molds. I pulled the box out here. So these are all my molds from Redesign with Prima. And I store them kind of here in this like file box. So when I want to sort through, I can just scroll through with my fingers, pull one out. You know, scroll through, pull one out. So it's really easy to see when I pull them out what I've got, you know, what I want to use. So that's all my molds are in this one box here. The box next to it, this is a box that I use for my, I do label all of my furniture. So this is my roll of labels. It's got my logo on it, my contact information. I use these little paint sample containers. If I'm sending home sample paint with a customer, I will put it in one of these little cups and I send that home with them. I've got Dixie Belle stickers if I want to label my pieces as Dixie Belle. I have a re-inking stamp with my information on it. And then in here, I send home a care package with all of my pieces. And my care package includes care instructions. And then it also includes, I will melt down my Big Mama's Butter and send that home with my customer in a 2-ounce sample size. So I order these containers on eBay. I melt it down in a double boiler. And then I just pour it into each individual container. I send them home with my business cards. So that is my care package box. A few other storage things I've got here. Artist brushes. I use a lot of artist brushes. So these little caddies you can get when school time is coming around, which is right now. They're in the stores. And I just get these caddies and then I can separate my brushes, my little artist brushes, into, I've got a little cup for my foam brushes. I've got a cup for my, you know, spatulas and taller brushes. And then over here for small wax brushes. So these little caddies are really nice. Stencils. Stencils are really hard to store. A lot of them are huge. Where do you place your labels? I place them on the back of my piece, the back top right corner. And I sign them all. So stencils are really hard to store. A lot of these are large size stencils. So what I do is I will get these pant hangers. So these are you know, from your clothes, from Target or whatever. And then I have a wardrobe rack here. And I just slide them in like I'm scrolling through my clothes in the morning, all of my stencils. So that's how I store my stencils. Now on the bottom of the wardrobe rack, I use that for my staging art. So it's in a rack like this that I can flip through anytime I want to pull a canvas out. So on the top I've got hanging, I have two of them. I've got hanging stencils, and then on the bottom is staging art. So, and then if we come over here to my staging cabinets, over here I've got a silhouette machine for cutting vinyl. What's that? Oh, that's my new Wagner sprayer. Dixie Belle is now carrying the Wagner sprayers. That's my new sprayer. I haven't even opened it yet. I've got stamps are in this box here. This box has my glue gun, ribbons, some smaller stencils, things like that. Yeah, I really like that for the stencils. That's been the best solution I found. You know, and then there's all kinds of things out here. So this is the other view. We've already been around my staging wall, the window, the future staging wall, my workbench, and the pieces I'm working on. So there is a lot of space being used here. And I try to always find ways that I can be more organized, you know, keep things where I can find them. I don't like my workspace messy. You bought your Wagner not long ago. But this is only one bay of my garage. It's not a huge space. I feel like when people come over to get a piece, they're like underwhelmed. Like, oh, this is where you do everything? I do everything in this one space. So like I told you, we bought a separate building and I was gonna work over there. It kills my Wi-Fi signal. It's also too far away from my kids. So this keeps me attached to my home. It's insulated. I have air conditioning. I have a space heater. I can work in here year round. And everything is where I know it is. And Sean has really given me this space. On Friday, we are going to talk about brush care. You know what my absolute favorite thing in my workspace is? This is my brush station. It is just dedicated to me cleaning brushes. And I'm going to show you that on Friday. But having this in this space, when we built the house, I made sure that we had a space for a garage sink. But if you've got a laundry room sink, or one that's not used as often, even an outdoor sink, to have your own dedicated brush cleaning station is a huge advantage. Yeah, my brush station. Friday we will inspect my brush station. I will show you guys. We're not going to move around as much on Friday. I'll show you everything I've got over there on Friday. So this is my workspace. This is my home away from home. I spend more time out here than probably anywhere. So some of my favorite, you know, organization stations around here are probably definitely my brush cleaning station. Definitely the drawers in the workbench are a huge help to have my tools, my brushes, my gilding waxes, my sanders. Everything I need is all in one place. Storing stencils by hanging them on pant hangers has been huge. The little caddies for small brushes. I'm going to show you one more thing before I forget. So I've got this here. This is a rolling cart, and I keep this with my projects that I'm working on. And so what I'll do is, as I'm going through these pieces that I'm working on, I will take my paint color. Everything gets a shelf. So if I'm doing more than one piece at a time, I'll place my paint color in here, my glaze that I'm using on that piece. I'll take my transfer and it will go. So I've got a few transfers out because I'm going to be deciding which one I want to use. So the ones I was considering, I just pulled out. This is just a jug of vinegar that I'm almost done with. But anything I'm using for that piece will get a dedicated shelf. So this would be one piece. This would be the next piece. And then I can roll this around as I'm working. I'm going from this piece to work on the one next to it. I will roll the cart over there and it will have all my materials right on it. All my paint colors, everything that I need for each piece I'm currently working on. I cycle through pieces about once a week. So then I will go through and I will clean the cart off and refill it for next week's projects. Where do I keep the papers? So the papers are over here on my shelf. Let me see if I can get a view because I've got a little table in front of it. I pulled this little table out to use for my staging video. but all of my custom papers are right here. Can you see them right there? They're all in rolls, and I've got my spoonflower paper, I've got gift wrapping paper, all different kinds of papers are all here. Those cards I got at Costco, but Michael's has them too. Yeah, they're only, I think I paid 25, 30 bucks or something. The ones from Costco have 4 shelves on them. The ones from Michael only have 3. IKEA has them too. So I love those little job carts. That really helps. Then I don't have to just have paint lying around. And then each individual shelf is dedicated to a project. So that's kind of my workspace. Sorry, it was kind of a mess to show you guys because I had to move around so much. So I hope, and I didn't have a cameraman with me. That would have been nice. I hope you were able to see everything. I'll kind of pan across the rags, air conditioner, all my supplies, and then we're back to staging wall. So usually what you see behind me is just my staging wall. It's the cleanest area. It's not all cluttered with, you know, cords and screwdrivers and all of that. But, you know, like I said, some of my favorite things are, you know, I'm trying to adjust my tripod here with one hand. Sorry about that. Some of my favorite things are my natural lighting. Natural lighting is huge. If you can get it, there's nothing like it. There's no lighting kit that's going to bring your colors alive like natural lighting does. And so I think I've organized it the best way that I can for my space. I'm always figuring stuff out, but that's it. All this stuff happens in one bay of my garage. It's not any huge, extraordinary space, except for the space that I do have for furniture storage. And if you don't have that, then you just don't store as much furniture. Then you just, you know, invest in the few pieces that you're working on at a time and don't keep a stockpile like that. I have a large stockpile. So that's kind of it. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing where I work. Tomorrow, come back and we're going to talk staging. I'm going to talk some strategies on staging, some strategies on taking photos. I'm going to pull out some of my favorite staging items to where if you have to pick a few favorites, what do you invest in? How do you keep all the paint off the floor? I don't. So I showed that in the beginning of the video. This is my flooring. Let me find a good spot. Do you guys see all the paint on my floor? We put this flooring in to get paint on it. So I covered up my garage floor with a cheap flooring, a cheap vinyl flooring. It was about $1 a square foot. It's about $300 to do my entire workspace. And it's meant to get paint on it. It's meant to get scratched up. I can slide furniture on it. It's meant for that. That's what we put it in for. I wanted to keep it off of my, garage floor where I couldn't get it off. So if someday we ever decide to sell this house, I can just take up, you know, pop up all this vinyl flooring, discard it, and my garage floor underneath looks fine. Yeah, I get paint on the floor. So if you have a workspace that you know is permanently dedicated to being your workspace, put a cheap roll of vinyl, roll it out, put something underneath so that you don't have to worry about that all the time. I love not worrying about that. If I want to clean this floor, it does clean, but I don't need to. I keep my staging area clean and the rest of it I can get paint on. I sweep it, I mop it every once in a while for the dust. Other than that, I have paint all over the floor. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Come back tomorrow. We'll talk everything staging. I'll show you what's in my staging cabinets and a few of my favorite items that I use a lot and what you should invest in for your staging, and then give you some tips on taking your photos too. So I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, noon Eastern. Thank you guys.